field over the past, I don't know, year and a half, almost 2 years, I guess. And so I wanted to share a little bit about how printing kind of fits into the future of work from our perspective. I think we're, especially those of us that are deep into technology, are always kind of assuming that printing really doesn't have a place anymore, and it should just be replaced with digital workflows. But I think and maybe I should just introduce the company I work for those who don't know it that well, real quick. ThinPrint's been around for close to 22 years, and I've been with the company for, I think, 16 or 17 of those. And we do everything around printing, nothing but printing. And we've worked with all sorts of companies around the globe, whether that's Citrix environments, whether that is uh, terminal server environments. We supply printing for VMware Horizon. And then we had a very close, or have a very close collaboration with Microsoft around our ezeep cloud printing brand. Let me just make sure Teams is still, oh, that's just the lobby. Um, a close collaboration with Microsoft that started around what is now Azure Virtual Desktop. It expanded into Windows 365 as well. And it all is centered around our cloud printing solution, ezeep. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and then give you a little bit of an insight of how easy it works, how easy it is to use as a demo towards the end, and then obviously answer any questions that you might have either along the way if you don't interrupt me, or if something comes up towards the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to share that as well. So as promised, like what's printing's role in an increasingly digital world? And I think the key is really that it connects digital and physical processes. And I think a lot of, and I don't know all of you personally, but I think a lot of us in IT have been working from home for a really long time. Some of us longer than the fun pandemic that's going on out there. And I think sometimes it's a little bit easy to forget how many processes are out there where at some point a document, whether that's a label or whether that's a traditional page, needs to be printed so that some process in, let's say, in manufacturing can go from we've built something to we're sending this to our customer. And I think, and I'll try to show that over the last 20 minutes or so before we get into the demo. And I think there's a lot of those processes that are out there. And obviously, what else could you expect me to say other than that printing is actually important, given who my employer is? And sorry, my cat is not actually showing up just right now, trying to get right in front of the camera. So we try to find some studies on printing and just to see what the world at large is saying out there. We found there were some interesting uh, remarks around home office printers actually running out of stock in, I think this is supposed to say 2020, as people were moving to their home offices and they needed all sorts of equipment. Printers were one of the first things that ran out of stock. I think they ran out before we actually ran out of computers. There's still, if you look at the first line, there's still a ton of pages being printed. And one thing that we've certainly seen from conversations with our customers is how important label printing has become, whether that's the label that goes on the prescription that you pick up at your favorite pharmacy, or whether that's a label that goes on a car part, a box of goods that you're ordering from Amazon, produce that's somehow supposed to make it to the supermarket. There's a huge growth in that market. And another thing that we found and found some studies to kind of um, prove that that's not just something we're imagining was one that very much talked about a piece of paper giving people a certain peace of mind that they have that information and they have access to it at any given point in time. And it was actually interesting to me anyway, because it's not something I really expected from the people that I know. Younger people are actually far more likely to print than some of us slightly older people. For some reason, they're not as exposed to that whole, like, let's do a paperless office thing that I think anybody that kind of came up in the 90s or so was always exposed to. So that also, I think, kind of plays into the whole, like, how are we going to work? Where are we going to work? How are our processes going to flow? I'm sure we've all seen some shifts in the type of applications we're using, how we're delivering those applications, obviously. And it seems that even for younger kids, or especially for younger people, as much as somehow they always get hated on in the media, printing is actually an important piece. And the I think, and another important thing is how different our digital workplaces are than they used to be. I think everyone is aware of how remote and hybrid work has really become the new normal. I think we haven't truly gotten to try the hybrid work scenario yet, since we're all pushing back the official return to office, at least in the scenarios where people primarily work from an office in the first place. But if I look at some of my friends that are in slightly different industries, more in service industry type jobs, even there, they are trying to figure out more of a hybrid scenario so that they do what they absolutely need to do in person, wherever that needs to be done, and then try to at least do some of that work at home. And it's rather astonishing how difficult that is for some organizations. And I think they really haven't heard about things that are near and dear to this group, how easy it has become to move entire desktops or individual applications to the cloud. They haven't really modernized a lot of stuff to web applications yet. And they certainly haven't really figured out how to make it possible for their employees to do a lot of the things they need to do from any type of device. It's kind of interesting how much of a divide there is, even just among the people that I hang out with, as much as that's safe. And another thing that I think I've seen from running the Etherprint business here is how much of the companies, or how many of the companies that we're working with are using some of the office space that they had rented out or bought to do more flex space type of scenarios, whether that's for their own employees or whether that's for almost an entrance in like the flex office market, just because they have so much office space that they really don't need for their own employees anymore. So a ton of change going out there in the world. I don't think anybody's truly surprised by that. And I'm talking about ezeep today because ezeep is really the only print solution that can handle all of those different challenges. If the past couple of slides were a little bit confusing, and that's not just because I didn't sleep enough tonight, but it's also because there's a ton of different things going on at any given point in time. And I don't know exactly about what situation all of you are in, but I think a lot of things are very fluid. I know a number of companies that have kind of given up on trying to publish firm dates on whenever they might go back to the office. It's just like, oh yeah, we'll give you a couple of weeks heads up so you can prepare. But nobody really knows like when any of these things are actually happening, what they need to might be happening, what they need to react to next, and all of those things. And I think having solutions, and in this case especially around printing, that are really able to handle all of those changes, whether we decide that we want to use Windows 365 to deliver applications or desktops, or whether we figure out that we need to take some of our backend SaaS applications and integrate those, whether we are trying to automate some workflows because it's increasingly difficult to find staff to actually work on things. Not just because some businesses are too cheap to actually pay people, but also because it's just difficult to find people in general. It's really important that all of the solutions, even something as seemingly trivial as printing, can support all of those things, and that they can support all of the various scenarios for printing that we might use. There's the traditional network or home office printer that I think that's probably the printer that comes to mind every time we actually think about printing. But there's, the more we dive deeper into the various application scenarios of where printing actually happens, the more it becomes clear how many seemingly specialty applications there are, whether that's around label printing or point of sales or mobility or whatever, that all need to be covered so that ultimately we have a comprehensive strategy around printing, and a strategy that can cover all of those challenges that are coming up. Ezeep is really the one platform that you need to cover all of these things. You can integrate that with any of the more modern print standards that are out there. You can integrate that with a traditional Windows print server. You can integrate that with home office scenarios. You can integrate that with warehouses, whatever you need. It's accessible from anywhere, and it's incredibly easy to use. I always end up with a couple more slides in these presentations that I actually wanted to, because the demo ultimately ends up being kind of short. It's easy to do and it's quick to do. It doesn't require a ton of IT expertise. I'm not a developer by any means. I'm not a seasoned IT consultant or anything of that nature. This is something that has the same ease of use as Teams or OneDrive, or something that you can easily roll out to your employees, and they'll be able to actually start using all of these things within minutes, and you get rid of a ton of the administrative efforts around printing. I think that's really, I don't think it's really printing itself that has such a bad rep that people kind of don't want to deal with it and constantly try to get rid of it. It's all the administration around printing that is kind of tedious, time consuming. It's not very glorious. Nobody really gets a giant pat in the back for fixing a printer, like you might do if you put up, I don't know, a fancy video conferencing environment or whatever it might be. And so we think it's a great idea to have a solution that very, very easily integrates into all of those challenges that are out there and removes a lot of the complexity, or all of the complexity really, from printing. Obviously, I think especially the last year or so has shown that we need to do things that are incredibly secure. So ezeep has not just the standard security components, encryption, whether that's in transit or at rest, but also the option to actually hold print jobs and only release them once somebody authenticates at a printer. And we've designed ezeep specifically with a bunch of the zero trust scenarios that are coming up and they're becoming more popular out there in the world, to make sure we can support those, so that we can make sure, for example, that printers really don't have to be on the same network as the users, and we can very easily bring those two components together so that ultimately the user can't tell the difference between incredibly secure printing and incredibly insecure but very convenient printing. Kind of a summary for the last couple minutes or so. ezeep really easily integrates into whatever environment you have. It's entirely agnostic to the printers that you already have. It'll support any new printers that you might be buying. It supports existing hardware devices. It supports Windows 365. It supports Azure Virtual Desktop. And I don't think there's really anything out there that is as open as secure as ezeep. With that, I want to take a quick break from the earnest things in this presentation. Since we don't get to meet in person quite yet, I was trying to figure out a fun way to toss some giveaways to the audience. Best thing I could think of was to become somewhat of a digital creator. So we created a shop with a bunch of things: t-shirts, blankets, yoga mats, whatever your heart desires. And there's a code on this slide that expires at the end of this month that lets you order a t-shirt or a couple t-shirts and takes $20 off of that order. That should cover shipping and a t-shirt for most of the for most of the cheaper items that are in that store. If you want 15 hoodies, that's on you. But they're in there, it's all priced so that we don't make any money off of it. But you're welcome to take a look in there and have something sent directly to your house. With that, let's go back to printing. I guess ultimately somebody has to print the logo on a t-shirt too, so I get it's somewhat related. What is it that really makes ezeep unique? I think there are a couple print solutions out there, and one thing that really stands out in our opinion is cloud rendering. It's the task of transforming the print data that is coming out of the application into the type of data and language that the printer ultimately understands. And we do this with the help of the ezeep hub. I have one here. I don't know if that'll work with the blurred background. It's a small device. I think you might be able to tell what it's based on, that you can very easily drop into a remote site, a home office, wherever you want to deliver printing and wherever you don't want to put up the VPN infrastructure to make the whole network off that site part of the VPN. You can simply drop that hub in there. It'll find the printer that are on the local network and then securely connect them to the ezeep cloud so that they become available at that location as if they were part of a traditional IT infrastructure with different bridge networks and all of those kind of things. We did a ton of work with our friends from iGel to integrate ezeep into iGel OS. If you're using Azure Virtual Desktop through iGel, you can map printers that are locally attached to a device running iGel OS as well. And then you'll see a little bit further down the road, I think I need to speed things up a little bit, how much centralized print management we have just through a simple web console. We have support for all of the various printer properties that you might be wanting to use. We stream print jobs. That is really cool for when you have larger print jobs and you don't want users to have the feeling that they're waiting for those forever. We send jobs essentially side or page by page, I guess I should say. And then so the first page can start, or first couple pages can start printing while the rest of the job is still making its way to the user's location. For those of you who are a little deeper into the applications, maybe that your company is working on proprietarily, we have SDKs and APIs available so that you can build printing support directly into those applications. And if you needed to, we even have like integrations into co-working space management and billing management solutions as well. So much for, I guess, the theoretical aspects of printing. I promised a couple real-life examples. This one is a retailer from the United States. They have 3,500 locations across the country, and essentially two use cases. One is their warehouses, where there's a ton of goods that the retailer is selling in those stores that ultimately need to be available in the stores to be picked up by the users. That retailer is selling fairly large items, so they're not shipping a ton of stuff directly to the users. And then the other side of the equation is the store operation itself, where people come in, they buy these larger items, and then obviously they need a piece of paper so that they're able to pick up that item at the back of the store. They need an invoice and all of those good things. That all happens through Azure Virtual Desktop. The clients in the store, so the devices in the stores are IGLOS devices. And then ezeep makes sure that we're bringing the printing piece to that equation. Another scenario that I think that's a more global scenario are, I guess, food processing factories, we call it in marketing. They need reliable printing on site with Azure Virtual Desktop, but also have mobile sales staff around their territory with Agile UD3 thin clients. A similar scenario as before. We're using the integration in the IGLOS devices to support the users and their local printing needs, and then we're using I think ezeep hubs to connect more of the entire offices or remote sites, warehouses and such into the environment. Financial services, I think it's probably not a huge surprise that that's a scenario that we're using. It's a zero trust environment. They have physical machines in this scenario that are using a VPN that doesn't allow split tunneling, but they also need to print from home. So another scenario where we use the ezeep hub to connect the home offices into the corporate infrastructure without the need to be able to reach that printer directly from the user's machine, or somehow find a different way to integrate it into the environment. There's no need to have like a VPN router at every home office or something like that. Whatever printer users have, whether they decided to spend a couple $100 on a nicer laser printer, or whether they have like an $80 inkjet printer, those all integrate into those types of environments. And then I guess the last one, since I mentioned that we have APIs to build print functionality into custom applications. One of our customers is essentially a chain of, or I guess they're not a chain of junkyards. They are a solution provider for junkyards, and the ERP software that they're using ultimately prints out labels so that the parts can be archived properly or stored properly. And when a user sees on the website, oh, they have like whatever carburetor I need for this, what is it, probably 1950 Chevy or so, then they can just order that part on the website. The junkyard that has it can reliably find it on a shelf, and they can ship it out to the user. And this happens with, I think, around 900 locations or so. I think it is in Europe, but I'm not entirely sure. All right, enough of the theoretical part of all of this. Let's take a look at what this actually looks like. PowerPoint always steals my mouse. So from an admin perspective, very easy. I'm logged into a demo account that I meant to retire, but it's Friday and the new one died. This is all I see when I first log into ezeep. Architecturally, I left that out of the presentation before. ezeep is incredibly simple. We have the ezeep blue cloud here in the middle. That's essentially what you see here on this website. We're hiding all of the tricky components from our customers here. And then we have the various connectors, whether that's for Windows to connect a traditional print server and simply cloudify, if you will, a existing print environment, we can use the ezeep hub. If we have more, let's say Windows 365 or Azure Virtual Desktop scenarios where I'm connecting directly from my local desktop in a home office and I have access to the local network, I can bridge those printers into a remote desktop of sorts. And then on the other end, on the user side, if you will, we have the Easy Print app for all sorts of operating systems so that users can send their job to the ezeep cloud. And then the job essentially kind of flows the wrong way in our Western way of reading. Here it goes from the print app into the ezeep cloud where it's processed through the native printer driver if there's an ezeep hub involved, and then is sent down to the printer to actually be printed. Users and groups is, I'll leave that out here. We can either integrate into Azure Active Directory natively and then pull users and groups from there, or for customers that for some reason maybe don't want to use that integration or don't have an Azure Active Directory, they can do the user management in here, but I don't think that's particularly interesting for this scenario. So I have a couple printers here. You can see they come from 2 different print servers. And if, let's see, I have the sales office printer assigned to my demo user. If I wanted to assign this sales office user, I can simply head on over here. It'll pull groups from the Azure Active Directory. And because it's a demo environment, that's very safe. I use an Azure AD admin account. And just like that, I have a new printer assigned to a whole groups of users. We have an option here. I do need to disable that for the demo to work properly. We have an option here that allows users to just access these 2 items from the website and assign their own printers. If you opted to not want to engage in which user is using which printer, you can allow users to make that choice themselves. And you can disable local printing either for certain groups. If you have groups that handle sensitive data and you want to make sure that they're not printing anything outside of your actual dedicated corporate infrastructure, you can simply add that group here, and then it'll be then only those groups that are allowed to print locally will be able to do that. And that's really all there is on the admin side. I'll switch one browser over and pretend that I have a user's home office here. I've sent a ezeep hub to that user, and that lives in my bedroom closet. So I need to ask the user for the MAC address for that ezeep hub real quick. And then I can go back into my admin portal and I can claim this hub using the MAC address. And that allows me to remotely administer this ezeep hub as if I was physically on the local network. Takes a second to load the first go around. Oh. And then I can log in right here, and just for comparison's sake, oh, I forgot to actually log in here. No, that takes us too far, but this is the IP address on the local network here. It found a printer, so all I need to do real quick is to connect this ezeep hub to the ezeep cloud. That appears to already be done, or oh yeah, but it's already done because I'm already logged in. So this just takes a second, and then I can take I will see this Cortado HP printer that we saw here, and I can take that printer and also assign it to the very secure Azure AD group. And then I can hop back into the home office and log into my Windows 365 Cloud PC. I guess I did not set this one up correctly. Fine, I will be very polite and take my phone during this presentation. Well, it's a demo after all, so it cannot work too flawlessly. Then if you look into the printer management, I have these two printers right here. And while we walk around the demo environment a little bit, I'll take that Cortado HP printer away from the group real quick, and sometime in the next 60 seconds or so, this printer will disappear. That's incredibly handy if you're making changes to an environment. All those changes automatically get populated to the users within about 60 seconds. So if let's say we're back in the office, a printer breaks down for some reason, you switch it out for different. Oh, that was nice and quick. You have to switch it out for some reason, then you can very easily just go back and let's say this is closed for some reason, then we'll assign this printer to that group of user, and then while you're working on changing out that printer, they will automatically within a second get that printer mapped to their Windows 365 Cloud PC or to the Azure Virtual Desktop or their physical machine, mobile device, what have you. And you can just send out an email, say we'll switch out the other printer, use this one for the moment, and then their workflows are as easy as they've ever been. You can simply do print here, and then you'll see that those two printers that we've provided through ezeep are available directly in their applications, just like they're used to. And I think I'm getting at least very close to overstaying my welcome. So I will just go back to PowerPoint here real quick. So hopefully that was somewhat interesting to see where printing is actually important these days, where printing greatly benefits the digital workflows to kind of bridge them into the physical world, and also kind of to show how easy printing can be so that you don't actually have to go through downloading drivers, installing drivers, pushing out drivers, maintaining drivers, making sure everything is set up correctly, everything is secure, teaching your users how to use the various interfaces for the printers that they're assigned to, and all of those things. All of these things are very, very easily done through ezeep, just a couple mouse clicks through a web browser. It works perfectly with any type of device, but we paid special attention to Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. It is integrated into IGLOS if you're rolling out zero clients, or if you're using IGLOS to transform home office devices while the users are using them for business purposes. Overall, I think a very impressive solution that makes it very easy to print, that makes printing cheaper, more secure, and it just allows you to use the existing print environment that you have in a much more modern and much more, I guess, appropriate way for the needs and times we have ahead of us. That said, thank you very much. I appreciate your attention today. I appreciate the time. Thank you for the invitation to the user group. It's always fun to talk to the peers in the industry. I'm happy to answer questions while we wait for Christiaan. And if anything comes to mind afterwards, feel free to email me at any time. And feel free to go back to the link from a couple of slides ago and grab a t-shirt. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great information. We do have a question in the chat. Andrew would like to know, so this is around scaling and pricing. What's the intended pricing / target market for end user or end customer, sorry, and number of users, etc.?
It starts, I think the smallest user package is 10 users, with each user costing, I think, $2.95 per month per user. We have some scale pricing published on our website, I think up to 1,000 users. Beyond that, we have a sales team that is happy to come and negotiate with you. ezeep is designed to scale to handle environments that are several 10,000 users and several thousand and 10,000s of printers. It's all built on Microsoft Azure, so that we have the ability to serve small customers, and then if somehow our sales team does an amazing job and they find another 20,000 users on a Friday afternoon, then the solution will easily scale to that as well. And I guess one thing I should say is that if there are MSPs amongst you, the ezeep accounts are multi-tenant capable, so that you can register them on behalf of your customers, always using the same email, and then you can, on the top left of the screen that I showed earlier, you can simply switch between customers and very easily just do whatever changes you're supposed to do on behalf of that customer.
That's great, thanks. Okay, there is a follow-up to that. But before we go to the follow-up, I think Andrew said a few SME clients in mind, 10 to 50 users perhaps, plus a couple of 100 to 200 users startup. Okay. Okay, add API support. What's the capabilities regarding integrating printing support?
Sorry.
API is key.
Oh, yeah. The API is currently designed to provide all the print functionality. We're not quite there at the point yet where we have the management piece that's done through the website currently, but so the API at this point is largely a very capable, I have a print job in an application that I need to print to a specific printer. You can either, in I think about 2 weeks, you can either build that directly into the code of your application, and then we have done work with Zapier, and I think Integromat is their kind of European counterpart, so that applications that are supported through Zapier, you can define a workflow that say, in my I don't know, let's say online store, there's an order coming in. Actually, that's a use case that we have with a bike shop, I think. They have an online store. Whenever a customer places an order, there's a spec sheet for the bike that the customer ordered automatically being printed to their workshop, so that the people in the workshop can start pulling the various different parts that they need to put that bike together, package it up, and then ship it to the customer. So a ton of different options. You could do an email to print application through that in Zapier. If somebody emails a document to a particular email address, then that automatically gets printed to a particular printer. If you have like a conference room type setup, for example, if you did something in QuickBooks and there's an invoice that needs to be emailed to a customer, that could be done. I think there's about 3,500 1,000 applications in Zapier, and if they produce some sort of document, then we can make sure that document gets printed to wherever it needs to go.
Okay, we have a few more questions, and I think there was a follow-up. So Andrew was asking specifically about like Amazon and eBay to the courier logistic partner.
I am a huge proponent of being an Amazon customer myself. I'm not sure how the back end piece works, but if there is an application in the back end somewhere that produces a document, if it's something that you can integrate into, that should be doable. Might be something where I need to learn a little bit more about how those applications work. I'd be happy to have, if you want to email me, be happy to have a conversation around that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. I think there are a couple more, so let me just scroll back up, make sure I didn't miss any. How much latency does printing via ezeep add versus printing over a LAN typically?
Maybe a couple seconds, unless you're sitting directly on top of the printer. It's not noticeable. We did a lot of ezeep is built on the thin print technology that we've been refining for 2 decades. So there's a ton of compression and optimization in the transport protocol to make sure that it's very near native experience. And then if you're looking at larger print jobs, it might actually be faster than local printing, because we do that print job streaming where we send the job page by page rather than to wait for a 160-page document to be sent from the local machine into the spooler on the printer, and then the printer to figure out if it can actually handle that many pages, and then finally starting to print. We've seen use cases where it's actually faster than local printing.
So we have, thank you. We have one more. It says, how ezeep help to secure printing for farmer industry? Do you have any use case?
I guess the obvious one might be to make users authenticate at the printer. Another use case could be to put printers on a separate network from the users. I think it's safe to assume at this point that printers handle some of the most sensitive information that we have in an organization. And depending on the printer model, the age, and how up to date the firmware is, and so on and so forth, it might be comparatively easy to get to the print data as it's traveling either through the local network or as it's on some sort of storage media in the printer while it's being processed. So putting those printers on a separate network, so that local machines with whatever, let's say even you have all good employees and there's just some random malware on the printer, that would not be able to get to the printer.
Very good. Thank you. So this was great information. I don't see any more in the chat. Everyone's has some comments you might want to read through. Thank you very much. And if you don't mind posting the code again for the folks on
Yes.
in the chat, that'd be great. And next up, I think we have Christiaan.
Hi, Jen. Hi.
Hi, thank you for joining. We will let's do a little switch screen if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Give me a second here.
Okay, sure.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so we are ready to go, I guess.
Yes.
Just checking. Okay, great. So first of all, before I start, of course, big thank you for organizing this and inviting me here as well to speak here. And so thanks to Jen and Thomas as well from the Microsoft side, and Jen right now too. So that's of course great. Um, so what I'm gonna do in the next like 45 to 60 minutes is talk and walk you through everything related to Windows 365 Cloud PC. So what it is, how it works, and more. So really want to explain more the kind of demo experience, how it is different from other technology, how it is more simple, and how we use different technologies such as Microsoft Endpoint Manager and such to bring Cloud PC and hybrid remote working, Windows in the cloud concept that we bring as part of Windows 365 Cloud PC in an easier way as how previous technologies has been working. And what we want to achieve with that is address the need for hybrid remote work and as well bring it to more customers because virtualization, VDI and such has been around for like 30 years, specifically VDI a little bit less, but just in general virtualization. And it has been like rather complex, and customers were not adopting those technologies for like larger amounts than just 15% of like what customers are using today for virtualization, where they pick like a physical PC as an alternative because that's easier. The real reason for that is that the complexity is high and the licensing costs were pretty high too. And we want to really take an extra step or take a step back on that, learn from all those experiences, and as well bring it in a more simplified way for a fixed price model. And that's basically what Windows 365 is. So I will explain you everything what you need to know about it and how you can use it yourself as well to get familiar with it and eventually hopefully kick the tires with it as well to give it a shot. So I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff, as Jen said, and I'm one of the program managers on the Windows 365 engineering team. So I'm working with a team to shape and build this product. So if you have any feature requests or such, feel free to let me know as well, so I can bring them back to the team and we can start working on it in the near future. As I said. I'm here to explain everything in a more demo-related manner, so no sales pitch or such coming from my side. So I really want to keep it interactive as well. So if you have any questions for me, feel just free to unmute yourself, and I'm happy to answer the question straight away. I'm not in my home office right now. I had a power outage this morning, so I'm at the office. So I only have one screen, so I don't see what's happening in the chat. So feel free to unmute yourself. So one thing before I start, I want to emphasize are a couple of events that are happening very soon. Yesterday we had a community event organized by myself and some great Microsoft MVPs and Microsoft speakers. It was a great success, and we really want to do some couple of more of those events as well in the next or near-term future. And one thing that is coming up in the next 2 weeks is a similar kind of concept event for partners. So you can see the lineup here. I'm not like going over all those sessions here, but if you're interested about like Windows 365 and what partners are doing in that space, how they build like add value solutions on top of Windows 365, you definitely have to see or participate in this event. So think about like NetApp presenting Spot PC, which is leveraging Windows 365 as well, but as well Nerdio that present their Nerdio manager solution and use a Windows 365 on the back too, and ServiceNow, for example, that built like an automation engine around Windows 365 that can provision a cloud PC with just a click on a button. So it's a very comprehensive lineup. So if you're interested in that too, I'm not covering those add value stories during this event. You are definitely invited for that event too. So if you want to register for that, I forgot about the link. You have to go to aka.ms/ W365 partner event. So if you go to that link, you can just register. You can just add the Teams link to your calendar. So no need for leaving your company credentials or such. So it's a pretty open event. Another great thing to learn about like Windows 365 and other things that I'm presenting around like Microsoft Endpoint Manager is a book that I wrote together with Per Larsen. And this book is really to to educate yourself on the modern workplace. So I come from the VDI space, so I know how spread like knowledge is in that area. And with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, you can consolidate all those technologies in one. And with this book, we present from A to Z what you can provide with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So from a physical PC running Windows 10 or 11 to a Windows 365 cloud PC running the same operating systems as well as mobile devices and such. So if you're interested in that, you can go to aka.ms/mastering-mem. If you use this discount code 25 Microsoft in Amazon, you get 25% discount as well. I just want to share that. I presented that yesterday as well. So if you're interested, you can use this code and order it from Amazon. So let's get started with some kind of an introduction. And what you can see on the screen here is the keynote of Microsoft Inspire that happened in July. And that's the keynote that Satya Nadella, as you can see here, presented. And that's where Windows 365 got announced. And first of all, it's a great honor, of course, that the CEO of Microsoft is presenting your technology and announcing your technology. But it also like explains and reflects how Microsoft is thinking about this product. So if the CEO presents your product at a big event, it means that it is carried by the complete senior leadership team and is a very strategic product as well for Microsoft. So it carries the Windows brand and the 365 brand, and therefore it's very important to move in a direction in the future where we really want to make Windows in the cloud as simple as it is on just using Windows on a physical PC. And that's kind of the strategy we have as a team, that we want to compare us with a like physical PC and make the capabilities that you can use as part of a cloud PC equal to near the same. And that's what we currently are building, and more and more features are coming to make that possible. But just to emphasize that like 30 years back, virtualization wasn't like an acknowledgement from Microsoft. It was mostly driven by partners such as Citrix and VMware, and Microsoft wasn't really doing much in that space. With Windows Virtual Desktop coming in like 3 years ago, somewhere around that, it was a great first step in the right direction. And with Cloud PC, Windows 365, we take all the different layers that you need to build in Azure. We take that away and we build our own automation engine. And now you can use technology like that with all the benefits of the management solutions of Microsoft Endpoint Manager in a consolidated way without like having the need to test that environment, to do benchmarking, to bring all those components together. It's a really simplified way of just leveraging a Windows PC in the clouds. And I'm going to explain you in a bit how you can do that yourself with some demos and some new exclusive demos as well. So as I said, on the 14th of July, Satya announced a Windows 365. It was at Inspire, a partner conference, and on August 2nd, so roughly a month ago, we went GA with our product. And on the left side, you see one quote that Satya said during the keynote, which is very important to remember out of this session, in my opinion. And this is well the direction we want to, or we are taking with Windows 365. And it's like with Windows 365, we are creating a new category, the cloud PC. It's a new way of approaching Windows in the cloud. And then on top of that, just like applications were brought to the cloud with SaaS, we are now bringing the Windows, the operating system, to the cloud. And that really emphasizes and reflects how we think about this product. This product is a SaaS product. It's a service end to end. So we deliver more services as a full package inside the license. So you don't have to bring up like other services to make it a total solution. And we take care of the performance and the end to end as a lay as well as part of this product. So it's a different way of approaching it. So it's not a PaaS service, it's a SaaS solution. So customers are seeking to get to a stage where they can say, okay, I don't get the performance I paid for, and that's where you can use Windows 365 for. So there are more responsibility layers that Microsoft take care of instead of like customers or partners in this specific. So if we talk about Windows 365, this is just like an intro slide that I want to explain, just to level set everybody. I think most of you are aware of the concept of virtualization. So the reason why we pitch Cloud PC in a different way of how other products are pitched in market is the way how we explained Cloud PC in market during the GA announcement is really to address the simplicity of the product, of course, as well as to explain it in a way that everybody understands how it works. And a great example of that was I moved to the US. I think it's like roughly 2.5 months ago now. My parents didn't know what I was building as part of Microsoft because everything was strictly NDA, and I wasn't able to share it completely with my parents, other than I'm building something to change how people use and consume Windows from the cloud. That was sort of the pitch that I did to my parents, and it was always very hard to explain as well to my parents what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I do something with computers in IT or something like that. Once we did the announcement of Windows 365, and I shared the announcement with my family, they understand what I'm doing. And that's kind of, I think, a perfect way of explaining that the message landed well in market. So from a technology perspective, there is similarity with other technologies. So it's not completely net new from like a remoting technology perspective. However, from a simplicity and a fixed price model perspective coming from Microsoft, it's definitely a game-changing way of bringing it to market. So combining that messaging as well with the technology, makes it very easy to explain to people what cloud PC is. And that's what we did, and that's what I think went out in a pretty good way. So, for example, Microsoft Mechanics, we did some videos there, and one of them is I think watched over 350K times already. So it broke every record of every video in the first 2 weeks. So just before I jump into the technical content, just some 6 bullet points that I want to explain as well. The content, wherever you go, it follows you. What does that mean? I think everybody understands that your session is running in an Azure data center. So your Cloud PC, your session keeps running when you disconnect. So if you connect to a different endpoint device like an iPad or a Mac or a Windows device, you can take over where you left off. We have different licensing models available, meaning different sets of cores and RAM. So you can easily resize your Cloud PC by just going into MEM and then click on a higher license, and then your Cloud PC will be rebooted with a higher size, and then you can continue your work. The consistent settings across devices mean that we leverage OneDrive, Edge sync settings, as well as enterprise state roaming to make sure that your settings of Windows and your application data is being synced across your different devices that you use. So we even support a known folder move as part of a OneDrive on Mac. So if you, for example, work in your My Documents folder, your data is automatically being synced up to OneDrive and back to your other devices. So it's a very consistent experience for your users, wherever they are like working from on any device that supports OneDrive. The apps wherever you need. So as you might know, you can just connect to the environment, and you can use your apps in a consolidation manner and in a consolidated manner. So you consolidate access to your corporate apps, and you put, like, for example, conditional access in between Azure MFA, passwordless authentication, or other conditions to make sure that you always connect from a secure device. That's all supported with Cloud PC. So we have a lot of customers asking for Cloud PC already, saying, "Hey, we want to support bring your own device and such, and we are in a highly secure, regulated, like vertical active. What can you offer for us?" And what I just explained is exactly what they need, like consolidate the access to that Cloud PC. And once you're in the Cloud PC, they are able to connect to the backend services, intranet, and all those things. So a very secure way. Scalable storage means that you can as well scale up and scale down the operating system disk size. So you don't need to recreate the Cloud PC or things like that. You just keep your data, your operating system, disk and files and applications you installed remain the same. And one of the other great benefits of Windows 365 is that everything is integrated with Microsoft Endpoint Manager and the unified security management solutions we offer for physical PCs too. So one principle of Windows 365 and then specifically the enterprise product is that an IT admin that can configure Windows for physical PCs via Microsoft Endpoint Manager can create as well a cloud PC. And that's possible because the backend services are all automated. So you do everything just following some configuration items and you're good to go. And that means as well that all the other security products and identity management components come together in one console and are easy to configure and to integrate as well. So think about Defender for Endpoint as well. We completely support that too. So yeah, really a consolidation between your physical PC and your cloud PC. So with that, I would like to start first with the enterprise product. So we have two products, business and enterprise, and the business product is a more trimmed version of the enterprise version. So it's for like from 1 to 300 users only in your organization. If you have more users, you need to use the enterprise product. And the enterprise product is as well more enterprise ready. So you have Microsoft Endpoint Manager as like the unified management solution on top, as well as all kinds of more enterprise grade technologies and features available, such as custom images and universal print support and things like that. So I would like to start with the enterprise product because the enterprise product is the product that is mostly used for enterprises, larger organizations. So I think that's a good starting point. So on this slide, you see the deployment process and the requirements to create a Windows 365 Cloud PC and enterprise like environment. So as you can see, you need an Azure subscription. The Azure subscription is needed only for the VNet connection to your domain controllers. So I hear you thinking, why do I need a domain controller? That's a good question. So you need a domain controller because we use hybrid Azure AD for enterprise, and we will support Azure AD native very soon. We are working on it, and we already have internal pilots running where it's working for enterprise. But right now we will only support hybrid, and for the business we support Azure AD only. What does it mean? You need to bring in at least one domain controller for a connection to Kerberos for that hybrid connection, and therefore you need an Azure subscription because that VNet connection needs to live in your Azure subscription to one of your data center locations. And most likely customers already have that. And hybrid as well means that you are capable to still use Kerberos. So some of your line of business applications could still rely on Kerberos. So some customers want to go to Azure AD native, but they cannot go as fast as they want because some applications are still relying on Kerberos, and this is a good way of meeting in the middle. And in the near-term future, hopefully before the end of this calendar year, we will support Azure AD only, and then you can decide between hybrid and Azure AD only. So you still have that option to go for Kerberos support as well. So that's one requirement. Of course, the licenses. So you need to have the Windows 365 licenses available in the Microsoft Endpoint Manager and as well in the Microsoft 365 admin portal. I'm going to explain to you how that works and how it looks and feels in the demo. All associated Azure resources. So I already explained a virtual network is needed. So that virtual network needs to be created inside the data center where you want to connect to. So if your VNet is created in West US, like 1 or 2 and potentially 3 in the future, or East US 2, for example, then the Cloud PC will be created in that region as well. And that Cloud PC is being created in an environment that Microsoft manages. So no VM or such is visible in the subscription. It's only that VNet that we need. All the other components of the VM and such are running in a Microsoft managed environment, meaning that you cannot access that, and that's part of the SaaS offering we deliver. So as part of the configuration, you need an Azure AD account, so potentially a global admin or an Intune administrator account for the initial configuration. Once you're done with the initial configuration, you are done with the prereqs, and then you are good to go to use our RBAC roles. We have RBAC roles for Cloud PC administrator and read only, and we are building new ones as well for other components where you can delegate access and have a more secure administrative way of providing access to to your IT department, so they cannot like break something where they don't need the rights for, so to say. So we will support more of that, and we already support administrators specifically for Cloud PC as well, and a read owner, and an help desk kind of role as well. And as well, you need an Azure subscription owner account just for that network configuration real quick. And once that's ready, you don't need it anymore. So here's the list of licenses we currently support, meaning that if you want to use an Cloud PC for your daily work, where you want to use Office and Teams and such, then the license that you see here coming from or starting from 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, or 2 cores, 8 gigs of RAM is probably a good starting point for your business. We have as well a license that is representing 1 core and 2 gigs of RAM. That's something that is supported with Windows 10. We have been doing internal testing and benchmarking for this size, and we came with a optimized version of Windows 10 to accommodate this. With that, you can run like line of business apps, very lightweight versions of it as part of a web app or something. So it's a really like frontline worker, easy entry level kind of license, but we don't recommend to use it for like Office or very extensive like knowledge worker kind of scenarios. So I don't go over all those in the list here. We are working on GPU enabled SKUs right now. So we already have those internally running, and we are testing those. We are now working on the licensing model and pricing around it. And once that is ready, that will be shipped as part of this product too. So most likely there will be a couple of more extra licenses that are enabled by either NVIDIA or AMD. And what we are working on in the future as well is enabling GPUs potentially on all the SKUs to make the comparison with a physical PC even closer, and to extend the Windows experience as part of the overall license of Cloud PC. So just to acknowledge, if you want to code or are a software developer and you want to use Windows 365, then the 8-core 32 gig of RAM license is your best pick. If you need graphical enhanced resources, then you can either try this and see how far you can get. If you need more, then you need to wait a little bit longer once we ship this. And I have a demo later on, if I have time, on how the experience will look in terms of the performance. So if you are using a Cloud PC and you are happy with the performance, but you shift like roles and you become a developer and you need more performance because of that, because you need a Visual Studio Code application that requires more CPU and RAM, then we have as well the option, as I said earlier, to resize. So it's a very easy way to do that. You go in the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center, you click on devices, just like you click on devices for physical PCs as well. And then you click on the license that you want to provide to that Cloud PC. So for example, you go from 2 core 4 gigs of RAM to 4 core 16 gigs of RAM. You just click on that license, and then you click on apply. And then the Cloud PC is being rebooted on the back, and the user gets a notification of that too. And then after like a minute or so, the new resource is applied, and then the user can continue to work again with the new resource applied to it too. So he or she can be productive again with the new applications that they want to use. So just some background information about the different licenses that we have. So I just explained the different cores and the personas and such a little bit. So as part of the portfolio of our product, we created 2 like images that we represent to customers as part of the marketplace. So I already said like the 1 core 2 gigs of RAM license, we created a specific image for that. So we created that image, we optimized that image, and we We will keep that image as well up to date. So every Patch Tuesday, we will upload a new version of that image, and you can leverage that. So that's one image we have. We have another image, which is the one that we use for all our other images, licenses, as a baseline. And that's the Windows 10 and Microsoft 365 optimized image. And that includes Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise. It includes default settings that are enabled to make the configuration flow and the first time experience to Microsoft 365 apps easier. So for example, Outlook is automatically being configured, OneDrive automatically signs in, Edge automatically signs in, Teams is pre-installed with optimizations for Teams. Everything from like Microsoft 365 products are pre-configured and auto-enabled inside the Cloud PC if you have the license for that, of course, or have it enabled as part of your Azure AD account license components that you activate as part of the user. So it will look very familiar for a user, and a user can be productive very fast if a Cloud PC is being spinned up, because the out-of-the-box experience is already aligning with most of the parts that are necessary to work and to collaborate and things like that. And that's really like one of those principles we have as a product, to remove that complexity of a product where you need to do some extra steps to become productive. And that's also really beneficial with the Windows 365 business product, because with the business product, you don't have Microsoft Endpoint Manager, for example, so you cannot configure all those policies. But if you have this baseline set of apps and pre-configured as auto log on and auto sync and things like that with known folder move, there is for the vast majority of small businesses, there's no real need to bring in like an enterprise grade management solution on top. And that makes it very powerful for smaller organizations to leverage like a virtualization technology, which was impossible in the past because it was too expensive, or it required like a full team to to manage and maintain and to configure that. So just to emphasize what we do in the business space as well. So let's start with the demo. So I think I talked enough about like the excitement around this product and how it is different from other technologies, and that we really focus on the experience for the IT admin and the end user. So let's start with like the prereqs and start with a demo. So as I said earlier, one of the prereqs is having that virtual network. So I skip that step right now, and I start straight away in the step where you end up as well when we have Azure AD native support for enterprise, which we already have for the business product, and that's buying a license, of course, and as well as signing a license. So that's as easy as it is for Exchange Online as well. So you go to the Admin Center portal to active users, and then you click on the user where you want to assign the license to. So here you see my newborn son. I assign a Cloud PC license to him. He will be very happy with that. So he can work as well on the side next to playing with toys. So I assign a 4-core 16 gigs of RAM Cloud PC license to him. And that's basically all you need to do from a licensing perspective. You can do this on a bulk configuration manner basis as well. So you can, for example, create an Azure AD group, assign that group to a license, and then just put the user in the group. And the great thing about that is that once you did the pre-configuration, then once you put a user in that licensing group and you put that user or you put that group inside a provisioning policy as well, then the only thing you need to do is to put the user in the group, and then everything like the Cloud PC is automatically being created. So it's a very streamlined process and a disruptive process as well on how it has been or how it happened like in the past, to make it so easy to just become productive. So this is the demo of connecting to on premises. So here you see Microsoft Endpoint Manager. That's the switch that you need to make right now in like the portal. So you switch to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal, and that's where you need to do all the work for the enterprise product. So you go to devices, and then to to provisioning, and then Windows 365. And then we need to create the on-premise network connection. So this will auto-detect the Azure VNet inside your subscription. That is the underlying subscription as part of your tenant. So you give in the name for that connection. So this most likely would be the location of that virtual network to detect which location you want to create the cloud PCs in, because the location of the VNet is the location where we pick the cloud PC location, the backend services that we provide as part of this SaaS offering. Here you select the virtual network and the subnet. So if you have multiple subnets, you can create multiple on-premise network connections as well. Here you add the domain name, so the FQDN, and as well potentially the OU, so where you want to create the cloud PCs in. So that could be a predefined organizational unit, like folder, like OU. That OU needs to be synced with Azure AD. So make sure that that OU is synced with your sync settings. If it's not synced, it could cause some issues. So once you're done, you can click on Review Create. This is all an initial step, by the way. So once you do this, it's a one-time effort. So it's just an initial step. And as part of this, it performs all kinds of checks in your environment already. So it checks if Azure AD is synced up correctly, if your Azure subscription is valid. It checks as well if the first-party app is available in your Azure subscription, if Azure VNet, if that is like available in the supported region that you want to leverage, the subnet amount. The IP addresses per subnet amount that you have available to just pre-check if you have room for any cloud PC to add in your network. Any policy restrictions, if DNS can be resolved, and endpoint connectivity, what you can see at the end here, and that detects whether your VNet, your firewall rules, can connect to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager URLs that are cloud URLs that connect over 443, as well as the AVD control plane URLs, because we use the AVD brokering service as part of this SaaS offering to broker the connection from the endpoint to the cloud PC in the data center. So if you have like an environment where you run into issues that could be possible, we have a very easy way to detect and fix that with this watchdog service. So if you see this on the screen, you see that there's an error with like connecting and creating the on-premise network connection. So if you click on that, you can see, hey, there's an error in attempting my domain and resolving my domain. So I need to check my domain controller. Perhaps my domain controller is not running, or it cannot connect to my domain controller. So you exactly know where to search for. So that's kind of the power of this watchdog service that happens as part of the network connection process, which makes it easier for IT admins to unblock them from onboarding to Windows 365. So one thing I would like to explain as well real quick is if you already are a Microsoft Endpoint Manager customer and use that for physical PCs, you can easily add all your configuration flows and policies and applications to Cloud PC as well. So this is an example for Notepad++. So that's already configured for physical PCs. And if I want to assign that app as well to my Cloud PCs, you can just go to Assignments and then add my Cloud PC group to it. And then all my cloud PCs will get this app pre-installed once the cloud PC comes online. And that's very powerful because you can use like MSI executables to deploy, but as well MSIX and other technologies to distribute like applications to the cloud PC, all from this same control plane solution, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Unified Management Solution. So that's kind of what I explained with, like, this is a total solution from end to end, where you can configure and as well deploy apps and maintain and do Windows updates and such as well, all from one single pane of glass, where other technologies are more like separate solutions where you need to bring in other solutions, partner solutions, to make it a end-to-end solution yourself. So now we are ready with like assigning a license and as well the on-prem network connection. So now we need to like actually create the cloud PC. So here you see my cloud PCs, or here you see 4 potential cloud PCs, meaning that you have 4 users in your environment that have a license, but they didn't receive a provisioning policy yet. And the provisioning policy is the word is already saying it. It's a policy that includes the requirements to provision the cloud PC, meaning that you define the region where it needs to be created in, and as well the baseline image that you want to add to this Cloud PC. So that could be a marketplace image, but it could be as well a custom image. So what you need to do to make the status from not provision to provision, you need to create a provisioning policy, which is an initial step as well. So it's a one-time step that you need to take. So you go to provisioning policy, click on create a provisioning policy, then enter in a name. So that could be a location or department name, and then you define the location of the VNet, so the on-premise network connection, and then you define the image. So most likely you use the gallery image that we provided, like that I explained earlier, but we support custom images as well that you can bring in as part of an Azure Managed Image or via the shared image gallery. So this is an example of the Windows 10 Enterprise image with M365 apps and teams. And in the next couple of, I don't want to make any promises, but let's say very soon Windows 10 will be added here as well, probably next month. So you have that offering too with that baseline apps pre-installed for Windows 11 then. So I will explain more in some next demos about that too. Here you assign the Azure AD group to the provisioning policy. So if the user is part of that group, then the provisioning process will kick off right now. And that's what you see happening now here, is that my Cloud PCs are being provisioned. And once that is ready, the status will change to provisioned. And that will mean that the Cloud PC is ready to use, to work on, so you can be productive and start logging on to the Cloud PC. So that's what I'm showing right now. So this is a demo of the end user experience from Rep. So here I'm logging on with my user account. So I just enter in my credentials in Azure AD. Once that it is accepted, it supports as well passwordless authentication. So I just go to my phone and enter and acknowledge my number. So I don't have to enter in my password as well. It's a very highly secure way to consolidate as well and make it easier to forget about your password and just have your phone as a secondary authentication, or basically a primary authentication mechanism. You can download the clients that we support. So Windows, Mac OS, Android, all those clients are supported. And here you can log on directly to your Cloud PC. So you can as well reboot like your Cloud PC here and do some troubleshooting, and of course logging on to the Cloud PC. So that's what you see here. So it moves over to the RD Web Console, as you can see. Very soon we will replace this experience by a new experience. So it will all stay in that same portal, and something you will see very soon being released in the product too, to make it even more easier and modern to access your Cloud PC in here. So here you see my Cloud PC. It looks very familiar. You see my background and my colors and templates and themes are synchronized. My Notepad application is pre-installed here. So it looks very familiar. Even my OneDrive data is already pre-configured. So if I have OneDrive with known folder move on my physical PC, you will see them lighting up on the desktop here. Teams is working, Edge is working and pre-configured, so Edge is automatically being logged on. You see your history, your tabs, and all those things pre-configured. So a very easy way to become productive, and it looks very familiar, as you can see. The same is something you can do with the remote desktop app. So you can just like download that one and subscribe with the same account. It's the same experience as for AVD. So you just log on with your credentials, and then you acknowledge as well passwordless authentication, and then you're good to go to log on, and then you will see the Cloud PC lighting up in the client. This experience of subscribing will be possible to do with an auto registration option, meaning that there is a feature coming up for Windows 11 and soon for Windows 10 too, to auto log on into the client if your device is managed by Intune. So it's another feature to make it easier to connect to your Cloud PC. So that's coming soon too. And here you see the capabilities that you have with the client. So think about camera redirection and such as well. So that was the enterprise demo. So I hope you learned a bunch and saw the pretty easy configuration flow. And if you are familiar with Endpoint Manager already, this would be a very easy path for you to follow and configure in your environment. So I really want to spend some time now on the Windows 365 business product. And as I said, there are some differences between those two products. So here you see the differences between business on the left and enterprise on the right. And as you can see, the business is really to streamline the experience. So it's providing a one-click to provision, like experience for the IT admin, meaning that you assign a license to a user, and then the Cloud PC is immediately being created. So you don't have to go to Endpoint Manager as such. You just assign a license, and then the Cloud PC is there in like 10, 15 minutes, and then you can log on. So there's no AD requirement. So it's just as is. You click on it, you assign it, and then you're good to go. And that's as well the kind of experience that we will bring into enterprise. So there are some limitations on the business product. So no custom images. Like image management is not the same. Like monitoring solutions are not the same. So endpoint analytics is not supported, for example, which is with enterprise. And universal print is not supported too. We are extending the IT admin capabilities of business in the near-term future, and perhaps bringing some more features you see that are not supported today. So stay tuned for that too. But this is how it will look today. I'm not going over them all by one, because otherwise I cannot present the other demos that I have. So feel free to see the recording or make a screenshot of it. So this is the demo of the business product. So first you need to purchase the license. I didn't show that in the previous demo, so you can experience it from here. So you just go to purchase services and purchase the Windows 365 business license or the Windows 365 enterprise license. So it's just the same as you do for Exchange Online, Office 365 and such. It's not different. And the license defines the performance you get as part of Cloud PC, as I explained earlier. So here you see the example for business, and here you see the example for enterprise as well. So, and now I want to explain how it is different from enterprise in terms of getting up to speed and get access to the Cloud PC. So one thing you need to do is assign that license that you just purchased. So you assign the Windows 365 business license to a user. In this specific, it's John Monday and not John Friday. I made it on Monday, so that was the easiest one to create. And here you select the Windows 365 business license and potentially M365 business premium for Office access and such. So you save that, and at that moment, the Cloud PC is being spinned up on the back already. So you log on as a user, and you'll see that the Cloud PC is now being created already. So no need to configure anything and such. It's all taken care of, and you see some wizard as well for the end user that the Cloud PC is being created. So your Cloud PC is ready. Connect from your browser, manage the Cloud PC. Things like that are all like being prompted as a first tour experience for the end user, and you can see that the Cloud PC is being set up and being created and is ready right now. The Cloud PC is ready. It's designed so that means that you can use it. So one of the things you can do from this portal as an end user is you can restart or reset the Cloud PC. You can rename the Cloud PC. You can do some troubleshooting. So troubleshooting is really like it connects or tries to connect to the cloud services. And if there's like a policy or your firewall is blocking something, it will show you that kind of information. But in this specific, there are no issues. So you click on open in a browser if you want to log on, or you want to use another client, you can download it as well from here, as I explained in the previous demo. Then you click on open in a browser, and then it goes directly into the Cloud PC. And what you can see is that the same out-of-the-box experience as I just explained will apply to the Cloud PC business product as well. So Microsoft 365 apps are pre-installed. OneDrive is auto log on and syncing automatically, as you can see here. Teams is popping up and pre-installed with the optimizations. So all those things are out-of-the-box experiences that we provide on both enterprise and as well on the business product. So as you can imagine, this is a very easy way for any customer, even like just a small freelancer that has no knowledge about virtualization, to using technology like this. So it's a very powerful and disruptive way of providing virtualization for larger audience or for larger amount of people and audiences as well that never touched virtualization in the past. So we support Azure AD My Apps as well. So I don't want to spend that much time on this one, but we support that too. So if you are using My Apps to collect all your apps, your SaaS apps in one like single pane of glass, you can go to myapps.microsoft or myapplications.microsoft.com, and then you can add your Cloud PC, Windows 365 in there as well to use this as sort of a starting page for all your apps to start your daily work. So that's something we support too, and we support as well the waffle. So if you go in the left corner to those 9 digits, you will see Windows 365 in there too. So as I said earlier, we are working hard on GPU SKUs right now. So meaning we are enhancing the GPU SKUs or the current compute SKUs with GPU SKUs in the near future, meaning that you can buy a license that has like let's say 8 cores and 32 gigs of RAM, and as well 4 GB of GPU RAM buffering, frame buffering, in the Cloud PC, and then you can use that for either workstation related kind of scenarios, AutoCAD, Revit, Photoshop, things like that, video editing, but as well other use cases that require a GPU. And as I said earlier, we are working as well on bringing GPUs to like the smaller sizes of Cloud PCs. So this is an early preview of a Cloud PC running a GPU license. So it's not released, so it's really a sneak preview that I'm showing to you. So here you click in the client and log on to a Cloud PC with a GPU license assigned. And here you see that I'm logging on and see that the video experience in this Cloud PC is very smooth. So just the same as on a physical PC. You see that the WebGL performance, the benchmark tool is running at like 60 frames per second and pretty smooth as well. And just an example, what we can do as well is playing a game, perhaps, if you want to do it inside your Cloud PC. So if you want to use it as a gaming PC side by side next to your business, you can do that as well. So this is an example of Command and Conquer. So folks that are from the 90s probably remember this game. It originally came from like the 1990s and was very bad in quality, but they remastered it and made it very good looking. And the performance is pretty good, as you can see as well inside the Cloud PC. So it's pretty much the same as on a physical PC. I think it's the same. I didn't experience any lag. So yeah, this is kind of the experience we want to bring to our customers as well, close to the same as for a physical PC. So yeah, I don't want to show the full game with you here, but you can see that the performance is pretty slick, and that's what we going to deliver very soon as part of our licensing offering as well. So let's move forward and talk a little bit about monitoring and analytics. So as part of the Windows 365 Enterprise Cloud PC, you can do monitoring built into the product as well. So no need to leverage technology like Azure Monitor or something separately. You can just use the Endpoint Analytics product inside MEM and use that without paying for an extra license or something. So here you see that experience. So this is endpoint analytics. So you probably are familiar with it. If you aren't, this is how it looks. You see like from the full tenant and all your Cloud PCs, you see a score. So the score is just your full like environment. So it's like the average performance of your environment. But you can do it as well individually per Cloud PC or physical PC. So this is really where all those different devices come together. And on the right side, you see as well some insights. So you see, hey, 41 devices are not performing as expected. Can I, or what is going wrong here? And then you see that the RAM consumption is pretty high in some cases, some CPU spikes. And here you see more insights about that. So you see the score, you see as well the performance of the CPU and the RAM. That's all baked into this service. You see the startup performance, so you can see what the logon duration is, the sign-in history here. You see the layering between the logon process as well. So what is like applying GPO settings and what's just the initial sign-in phase. You can see as well the latency of the Cloud PC, so the connection, the brokering latency from your endpoint to the virtual machine in Azure. So you can see that here as well. And yeah, there are some other components here that I can show to you. So what you can do here as well is you can see per device if the and this is reflecting as well the round trip time, by the way. But if we go to resource performance, you can see that like that average CPU spike is high. And if you click on one of the Cloud PCs here and you zoom into that Cloud PC, you can see that the performance of that specific Cloud PC is not like following the baseline numbers that you provided as part of your tenant. So for this person, Joe Core, you see that this Cloud PC is potentially not performing well, and suggests to do a resize to size up to a larger amount of license, a larger size of license. So here you click on resize then into the devices menu, and here you can easily change from the existing license to a higher license. So this is a 1 core 2 gigs of RAM. It's a pretty low amount of resource. So if you want to go and support like Office, for example, you probably want to go to 2 cores or 4 cores. So easily click on that, click on resize. The Cloud PC is being rebooted, and then you're good to go. And this is a list of all the categories we support as part of Windows 365 and Endpoint Analytics. So the first two are new, are currently in a public preview. So resource performance, remoting connection, so CPU, RAM, the latency and such are all integrated. And all the other parts of it are already supported as part of the product for physical PCs, and we just brought them in for the Cloud PC as well. And the great thing about endpoint analytics is as well that you can make proactive remediations and actions. So if you, for example, see something happening in endpoint analytics, you can automatically attach a script or an action to it. And then once a metric is like not reaching your baseline, you can perform that action to fix the problem without any IT admin user interaction. So it's a very powerful tool as well. So let's see how we do about time. We have 10 more minutes. So let me explain a little bit about what we do with Universal Print. So Universal Print is the relatively new Microsoft Cloud Service PaaS service to print to the cloud, meaning that your print server is not running inside your subscription. It's running inside a cloud environment as part of your Microsoft environment, your Microsoft subscription, your M365, E3, subscription. Your license is including Universal Print already, so no additional purchase is needed for that. So here you see sort of the high-level architecture, and you see as well that Microsoft Endpoint Manager is supported, so you can use that for Cloud PC and Universal Print as well. And the other great thing is that you can connect all your printers with like a universal print connector that you see on the right in the corner. So that translate like every printer, like a USB printer, network printer, to make it like work and connect to a universal print over the internet over 443. But the other great thing is that we support universal print ready printers, meaning that you can connect the printer directly up to the universal print service. So no need for a VLAN or complex network connections or such. You can just connect to the Universal Print service, log on with your printer administrator account, and then you're good to go. And the other great thing in the Cloud PC is that you only have one Universal Print driver. So no need to bake in the Canon or Epson kind of printer drivers and then update those images and then have UAC privileges needed for the user. It's all happening via Universal Print Driver, and that print driver updates automatically as part of Windows. So that's all happening on the back. So no need for an IT admin to do that. So I would like to explain you a little bit of the experience, how you can configure a printer, and as well how you can add that printer to your Cloud PC. So here you see a Canon printer console. I log on with the administrator account here, and looks very familiar perhaps to you. So it's just the console, the web console. And if I go to settings and registration in here and go to network settings, you see that universal print is listed somewhere here. So if I click on that, I can enable universal print as part of my printer. That makes it very powerful because I can connect this printer directly to the universal print service. So no infrastructure need or whatsoever in your environment required. That printer only needs a connection to the internet, so you can even put it in, I don't know, in your backyard with a Wi-Fi connection if you want to. So it's a very powerful way of leveraging zero trust principles in your network as well for printers. So here you click on register, and here you get a code, a unique code, and then you log on to the portal and log on with your Azure AD account that has the rights to do this, and add the registration code, and then click on next, and then you add that printer inside the universal print service. And that's basically all you need to do to add the printer. And then you need to share the printer as well, so to make the printer available for end users. So that's something I don't show here, but that's pretty easy. You do that in the Universal Print console. So you go to the Azure portal, search for Universal Print, click on the printer, click on share, and then add the users that you want to share it with, or just click on all users in your organization. And once you did that, you can go back to the cloud PC. So you log on to the cloud PC. It's a very it's the same demo as I already explained. So let me skip this one real quick. And then you are logged on to your cloud PC, and then you can just go into the settings menu, the printers and scanners menu of Windows. I think it's not printers and scanners, but we will find out here. It's I think it's let me see. It's, if I was right, it's printers and scanners. I was right. Then you click on add a printer or scanner, and what you can see here is that it searches for printers in the environment, and as well it checks for universal print printers. And here you see my Canon printer, my cloud printer ready for me. So I just need to click on add device, and then the printer will be added based on the settings that are defined in the Universal Print service, will be added inside my cloud PC. And here I can just open it, do a test page and things like that. I can see which port is being used to connect to. So you can see here that it's using the IPP port, meaning it's a different protocol that connects to the internet over 443 in an encrypted manner. So it doesn't use the default print port internally. And you see some default settings that are taken over. And here you can print a test page as well. And if you switch back to the Canon printer, you will see that the test page flows into that Canon printer, and you can see it as well inside the Azure portal. So the Azure portal includes the Universal Print service. So if you switch to the Azure portal, as you can see here, and then go to Universal Print, you see those print jobs happening here as well. So pretty simple. And in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, you can assign those printers as well at large amounts. So you can say, I have 5 or 10 printers. I want to assign all those printers to my cloud PCs and make one print a default printer. It's all supported as well from that standpoint. So I want to explain as well some of the things we are currently working on for Windows 11. So as part of the product group, I'm leading the initiative on supporting Windows 11 as part of Cloud PC. So this is a sneak preview. We will change this experience as well, so that's not incorporated in this demo. But here you can see when I'm logging on that I'm logging on to a Windows 11 Cloud PC. So it's running Windows 11, and as you might know, Windows 11 will become GA, generally available, on the 5th of October. And we, as a service, are ready for that release as well. So we will have images ready with all those baseline apps and configurations. Plus, we will make the change to Gen 2 and TPM-enabled VMs, meaning that you can leverage technologies that are dependent on TPM as well in the future. So think about BitLocker, virtualization-based security, and other security enhancements that require a TPM chip, such as Secure Boot as well as a feature that we will bring in to Cloud PC in the future. So really to acknowledge the security capabilities of Windows 11 and as well Windows 10, because we bring in TPM as well for Windows 10 by then. So of course you can use Windows 11 on the web view, but as well the clients, it doesn't matter. So one thing I would like to emphasize as well, what we do in the partner space. So we of course hear a lot from customers and partners. What are you guys doing for multi-tenancy support and such? So we have been working hard, and we still do, on supporting Windows 365 in Microsoft 365 Lighthouse. And Lighthouse is a portal designed for MSP partners that you can use to connect and maintain and manage multiple customers, multiple cloud PCs at like once in one single pane of glass experience. So Lighthouse is the portal for MSPs that can do that. And we build in Windows 365 support that is coming available soon for Windows 365 Enterprise, and Business will come soon as well, where you can just add your customers, add all the tenants, and then maintain them and foresee like potential errors, or see what the failed connections and the cloud PC provisioned errors are and things like that, all from like hundreds of partners or customers all by one. So from an MSP partner perspective, this is kind of the solution that is required to fulfill that, and that's something we have been working on, and it's coming up very soon as well. And this is just a sneak preview of that experience. The final experience will look a little bit different, of course.
Wow, that's some exciting stuff. We have a couple questions in the chat. I didn't want
That's
you
good.
to get too far. So back on the Teams optimization, Teams version 2 are in plans, and I think you answered the Windows 11 one already.
Yeah, so the Teams optimizations we use is the same as for Teams for AVD. So it's the WebRTC AV redirection like technology that we leverage. We bake it into the images, so it's easier to leverage that. There's still some work to do to make it parity with like a physical PC. Teams V2 is the Teams version that runs on WebView instead of Electron, and we will support that too, but not like from day one when Windows 11 is supported. It's the same for other technologies, so we are not alone, let's say it like that. It requires a little bit more work to make the WebRTC plugins ready for Teams V2. But Teams V2 will be possible to use, but only from a client perspective. So you can do chat and such in Windows 11, but the call experience would not be the same as when you just use Teams V1. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Thank you.
And Windows 11 support is coming, so probably next month. So we are working hard to make that possible. So the current estimation is to have an alignment with the Windows 11 GA release as well for Windows 365.
Thanks. Yes, impressive. The one more question about universal print support. Any type of email notifications for running low on print jobs, so you can provision and add on for that month?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure about the answer of that. I think there is an email coming to the IT admin of that, but I'm not sure. It's a more universal print kind of question. I can take that offline and send it to you, Jen, when I verify it with the team.
Okay, thanks. That was it.
Okay, great. So one thing before I close off is this slide. So we have a lot of customers that are like more on the cutting edge, and as well customers that are really in the beginning phase of, hey, I have like everything on-prem, I have different sets of management solutions, and I really want to simplify my experience for my IT admin, as well as making it easier for IT admins to ramp up, and as well to make the dependencies on like IT admins like lower. And with like Windows 365, we really think we do that for like the virtualization space, but that's not only it. It's as well that like Microsoft Endpoint Manager experience, that unified pane of glass, that management experience that you can use for mobile and physical PCs. So this is kind of the journey that customers probably are following in that direction to Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So think about wave 1, complex imaging, all kinds of different solutions you have. And then wave 2 is more like 2 solutions, 3 solutions side by side, but still have one unified management experience, but still have like config manager, SCCM on-prem, and then Wave 3 would be everything managed from a cloud managed desktop experience, which is Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and leveraging technology that I just explained on the slide, such as Cloud PC, but as well Cloud Printing, Universal Print, Endpoint Analytics, proactive monitoring and such. That's all where we want to be as an organization. So just a quick call to action, because I think we're on time anyway. Here's a great list of resources you can use. So technical documentation, a forum, feedback site. We have a click to a demo. So that is a demo where you can just click in an environment that is simulating a real life environment. So it's a really comprehensive demo to get familiar with the business and the enterprise product. And what's in development is our public roadmap facing page. I explained a little bit more on what is available there. So you are ahead of the curve here, but you can bookmark that if you're interested. And I also want to highlight the feedback site. So if you go to that, you can request for features, and we will monitor that page as well as part of the product group. So with that, I'm done with my presentation. Are there any follow-up questions real quick? Otherwise, we can take it offline as well and send it to you, Jen or Thomas.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, unless someone wanted to come off mute. But thank you. This was fantastic.
Okay, thanks, Jen. And again, thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be here.